The war had ended months ago. The human soldier who had once fought on the front lines of a distant galaxy now lived a quiet life on Earth. His name echoed in the halls of command ships and war stories, but he tried to leave all that behind. He wanted peace. Silence. A normal day. But one morning, as he sat alone drinking tea, a sleek silver drone landed outside his home. It hummed softly and released a small golden envelope from its compartment. Curious, the soldier stepped outside and picked it up. The envelope felt warm and soft like silk. Strange symbols danced across its surface and then slowly transformed into Earth's language. It read, "To the honored soldier, you are invited to the royal wedding of Princess Avelia of the Zarian Empire. Your presence is respectfully requested. Transport will arrive in 3 days." He frowned. He had never met Princess Avelia. Why would he be invited to an alien wedding? Still, the message was official, and the Zarian Empire was one of the most powerful alien civilizations in the galaxy. Saying no might be considered rude, or even risky. He sighed, knowing he wouldn't get answers from an envelope. So, after some thought, he packed a small bag and waited. 3 days later, a grand diplomatic starship hovered over his town. Lights shimmered along its edges as it gently touched down. A Zarian ambassador, tall and dressed in deep blue robes, greeted him with a respectful bow. "We are honored," the ambassador said in clear English. "The princess looks forward to meeting you." The soldier nodded, still confused. "I'm not sure why I was invited." The ambassador only smiled. "All will be clear soon." Inside the ship, everything was made of crystal and soft light. It was silent, clean, and beautiful, so different from the metal and fire of human warships. The journey to the Zarian homeworld took only hours through their advanced warp technology. When he arrived, he stepped onto a world filled with glowing forests, silver towers, and floating bridges. It looked like something out of a dream. But the people, though different in color and form, bowed to him with respect. Whispers followed him wherever he went. That's him. The human. The chosen one. He didn't understand what they meant. The palace was massive. Carved from mountain stone and surrounded by shining waterfalls, it held banners of every color. Inside, servants gave him fine clothes and food. He was treated like royalty, yet no one explained why. He saw the princess once from a distance. She stood on a balcony, her pale blue skin glowing softly under the planet's sun. Her long hair danced in the wind. Their eyes met. She quickly looked away and disappeared behind a curtain. He didn't know it then, but that moment would change everything. At night, he lay on a soft bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, but his mind was loud. Why had she invited him? Was it a mistake? Was he just one of many guests, or was there something more? He remembered one battle during the war, when he had rescued a wounded alien girl from an ambush, not knowing who she was. Could that have been her? The stars outside the window blinked like quiet watchers. Something was happening. Something big. He had been invited to a wedding. But the truth was, the wedding was about him, and he didn't even know it yet. The next morning, the soldier was taken on a tour of the royal palace. His guide was a young alien attendant who spoke perfect English. Her name was Kari, and she smiled often, but answered very little. "Why was I invited?" the soldier asked, her as they walked past tall crystal pillars. Kari looked at him with a polite smile. "The princess wished for your presence, that is all I'm allowed to say." That answer didn't help, but the soldier didn't push further. Everywhere he went, people stopped and looked at him. Some bowed. Some whispered behind fans or turned away shyly. He didn't understand why they acted this way. He was just a guest. Nothing more. Later in the day, he was given a ceremonial outfit. Long, flowing robes made of a silver-white fabric that shimmered as he moved. It was nothing like the heavy armor he once wore in battle. He felt strange wearing it, but he was told it was required for an upcoming, important rehearsal. As he walked through the palace gardens that evening, Something caught his eye. A figure in a soft blue dress stood near the edge of a reflecting pool. Her back was to him, but he could tell it was the princess. He paused, unsure if he should approach. But then she turned, and their eyes met again. This time she didn't look away. "I hoped you would find me here," she said softly, her voice calm, but filled with emotion. The soldier nodded slowly. "I wasn't sure if I should disturb you." She shook her head. "No, you're not disturbing me. In fact, I've waited a long time to see you again." "Again?" he asked, confused. She looked into the water and said quietly, "You don't remember, do you? During the war on the planet Ressa, there was an ambush. A young alien girl was trapped under fallen trees. You saved her, even though you were wounded." The memory came rushing back. He had almost died pulling that girl out from the rubble. He had no idea she was anyone important. "That was you?" he asked, stunned. She smiled gently. "Yes, I was that girl." The soldier stood silent. He didn't know what to say. "You didn't ask who I was, you just helped. You didn't care that I was an alien, you risked your life for me. That's why I sent the invitation," she continued. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. "But still, it didn't explain everything. You could have just thanked me," he said carefully. "Why bring me here to your wedding?" The princess paused, then looked straight into his eyes. "Because of our law. A royal can choose their life partner freely, but only once. And I chose you." The words hit him like a silent explosion. He stared at her, speechless. She looked down. "I know it's sudden. I know this is not how your people do things, but I had to give you the chance. I had to let you see that you are the one I chose." Silence filled the garden. He didn't know what to feel. Part of him was honored. Part of him was afraid. And part of him, deep inside, felt something else. Something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Before he could speak, palace guards called for the princess. She gave him one last look and walked away. The soldier stood alone by the water, still trying to understand what had just happened. He had come as a guest. Now he was being asked to become something, far more. The next day arrived quickly, and the palace was even busier than before. Servants rushed through the halls carrying flowers, decorations, and glowing orbs of light. The walls shimmered with new colors. Everyone was preparing for the royal wedding. The yacht. Human soldier was led into a large chamber by Kari. She handed him the ceremonial robes again, this time with golden patterns sewn into the fabric. He looked at them, confused. "I'm only a guest. Why do I have to dress like this again?" he asked. Kari lowered her eyes with a polite smile. "It is tradition. You were invited as a guest of honor. The princess wishes for you to take part in the blessing rituals." He wasn't sure what those were, but he didn't want to be rude. So he nodded and changed into the formal clothes. They were light and smooth, but he felt uncomfortable, like he was pretending to be someone he wasn't. Kari led him to the ceremonial hall, where soft music played and the air smelled of sweet alien flowers. The walls were painted with scenes from Zarian history, battles, peace treaties, and royal weddings. The soldier joined a group of elders at the front. One of them, an old priest with glowing markings on his face, welcomed him kindly. "You honor us with your presence," the priest said. "The rituals cannot begin without the chosen one." The words made the soldier uneasy. "The chosen one?" he asked slowly. The priest smiled and nodded. "Yes, the one the princess has chosen. It is a sacred tradition." Before the soldier could ask more, the ceremony began. Soft light filled the room. He was asked to place his hand on a crystal and repeat certain words in the Zarian language. Kari helped him pronounce them. He didn't know what they meant, but everyone seemed pleased when he finished. The princess entered the room next, dressed in silver and blue, her long hair tied in shining strands. She stood beside him without saying a word. The crowd bowed. The music changed. He turned slightly toward her and whispered, "What is happening? What did I just say?" She looked at him, her voice almost shaking. It's part of the bonding ritual, it's tradition. I didn't want to surprise you like this, but the truth had to come out eventually. He froze. Bonding ritual? You mean marriage? He asked. She gave a small nod. Not yet fully, but these steps are sacred. Once we complete the final rite, it will be official. The soldier stepped back in shock. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why keep it hidden? The princess looked hurt but calm. Because I was afraid you would run away before understanding. I needed you to see this world. See me, without fear or duty. I needed you to know you're more than just a soldier. He looked around. Everyone was watching. The air felt heavy. He wasn't just a guest. He was already part of the ceremony, and part of something far greater than he had expected. He said nothing. He simply stood there, heart racing. Later, as the crowd left the hall, he returned to his room. He stared into the mirror, still wearing the golden robes. They had called him a guest, but he was already walking down a path he never agreed to, and deep inside, he wasn't sure whether to keep walking or turn around. The next morning, the palace was filled with excitement. The wedding was only one day away. Everywhere he walked, the human soldier heard music, laughter, and the sounds of celebration. But inside him, there was no joy, only confusion. He sat alone, in the guest chamber, still dressed in the white and gold robes from the ritual. The mirror in front of him showed a man who no longer looked like just a soldier. He looked like someone important, someone chosen, but he had not chosen this. He opened the door and stepped into the hallway. He needed answers, real ones. 2 alien guards stood nearby, whispering in their own language. They didn't notice him at first, but when they saw him, they straightened and saluted. I still can't believe she picked a human, one of them had said before noticing. The soldier froze. What did you say? The younger guard looked nervous. Forgive me, sir, I didn't mean. Just tell me. What did you mean by, she picked a human? He asked firmly. The older guard sighed. It's not a secret anymore. Everyone in the palace knows. Princess Avelia chose you as her life partner. You're the groom. The words hit like a thunderclap. The soldier turned and walked fast, almost running, through the wide halls until he reached the royal chamber. There, the chief advisor stood waiting as if he had expected this moment. You knew, the soldier said sharply. All this time you knew, and you never told me. The advisor bowed his head. Yes, the law says once the princess speaks your name as her choice, the process begins. We could not undo it. Only you can refuse. But doing so now would deeply insult the Zarian people. I came here as a guest, the soldier said, not as a groom, not to be part of a royal bond I didn't even agree to. The advisor nodded calmly. And yet, the princess believed your heart would understand. She hoped you would stay. The soldier stepped back, trying to think. I need to speak with her. Now. The advisor led him through quiet hallways, past tall golden doors, and into the garden where it all began. There, Princess Avelia stood again near the reflecting pool, her silver dress swaying gently in the wind. She turned as he approached, her expression soft and full of worry. You know now, she said. He nodded. Yes, and I need to understand. Why? Why choose me? Why not tell me the truth from the start? She walked closer. Because I was afraid. Afraid you would see this as a trap. Afraid you would think it was just politics. But I chose you because of what you are, not just who you are. You saved me when you didn't have to. You looked at me like a person, not a princess. He looked into her eyes. They were not full of royal pride or command. They were filled with something simple and real, hope. She reached out but stopped before touching his hand. I won't force you, she whispered. You can still leave. But I had to try. He didn't move. His heart beat faster. Everything around him felt quiet. Only her words remained in his ears. I'll think about it, he said at last. But I need time. She nodded, her expression unreadable. As he walked back to his room, the sky above turned a soft blue. The stars began to appear, and for the first time the soldier realized, maybe he wasn't just invited to the wedding, maybe the wedding was waiting for his answer. The human soldier sat quietly in his room, staring at the night sky through the wide crystal window. Stars sparkled above the alien world, peaceful and distant. But inside his heart, everything was unsettled. He was being asked to make a choice, a big one. If he stayed, he would become the husband of an alien princess. He would be tied to a world that was not his own. If he left, he could return to Earth, to a simple life, but with the knowledge that he had walked away from something rare, maybe even something real. The princess's words echoed in his mind. You saved me. You saw me as a person. I chose you. She had spoken with honesty. There had been no tricks, no pressure, only a hope that he might accept her choice. He sighed and stood up, walking back and forth across the soft, glowing floor. His thoughts raced. Was he ready for something like this? He had always been a soldier. He had faced danger, war, and loss. But this was something different. It wasn't a fight. It was a life decision. A soft knock came at the door. It opened gently and Kari stepped inside. The princess asks for you, she said kindly. She is in the observatory, alone. He nodded. I'll go. The observatory sat at the highest point of the palace. From there, he could see the full beauty of the Zarian sky. Twin moons floated above, surrounded by purple clouds and shining stars. Princess Avelia stood near the edge, looking up, her hands folded in front of her. He stepped beside her. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. It's beautiful, he finally said. Yes, she replied softly. But it feels cold when I don't know your answer. He looked at her. You didn't have to wait for me. I wanted to, she said, because this isn't about duty, it's about hope. He studied her face. She looked strong, but also nervous, like someone who had carried too many burdens for too long. Where I come from, he said slowly, we don't marry someone without knowing them. We take time, we talk, we share our thoughts, our fears. I know, she said, and I want that too. I don't expect you to love me now. I only ask you to give us a chance, to stay and see where it goes. The wind blew softly around them. He could smell the flowers from the garden below, hear the music far in the distance, and right there under the twin moons, he saw her not as a princess, but as a person. A woman asking for something simple, companionship, understanding, maybe love. He took a deep breath. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, he said, but I'm willing to stay. I'll take the first step. Her eyes lit up and a soft smile appeared on her face. She didn't jump or shout. She just looked calm and deeply happy. Then we will walk together, she whispered. They stood there side by side, not as strangers anymore. The wedding would still happen, but now it would not be forced by duty. It would begin with a real choice, his. The night felt calm, and the sky above the palace shimmered with gentle light. After their talk in the observatory, the princess and the human soldier walked slowly through the royal gardens. The world was quiet, just the soft sound of leaves, moving in the wind and the gentle steps of two people learning to understand each other. They sat down on a smooth stone bench under a tall, glowing tree. The leaves above them sparkled like tiny stars. For a long moment, they said nothing. Then the soldier spoke. I never imagined I'd be here. Not like this. I thought my life was only about war, orders, and surviving the next mission. Princess, Avelia looked at him with kind eyes. You were more than a soldier that day on Ressa. You saved me without asking for anything. He nodded slowly. But after that war, I felt lost. I didn't know who I was without the fight. She gently touched the edge of the bench with her fingers. I understand. I was born into royalty. Every step I take, every word I speak is watched, judged. I've never been free to be just Avelia. He looked at her. Is that what this is about? You want freedom? She smiled softly. No, I want something real. Someone who sees me, not the crown. The soldier leaned back and looked at the twin moons in the sky. I've seen things no one should ever see. I've lost people I cared about. I learned to keep my heart locked away. But meeting you, it's strange. I feel something I thought I'd lost. She turned toward him, her voice low and full of truth. So do I. There was a silence between them, but it was a peaceful one. Do you really believe this can work? He asked her. I believe in taking chances, she replied. If we walk slowly, learn from each other, and build trust, then yes, I believe it can. He thought about Earth, his old life, the noise and speed of his own people. Then he looked at her world, calm, graceful, full of strange beauty. 2 different lives, 2 different worlds. And yet, in this quiet moment, it didn't feel so impossible. I don't promise anything perfect, he said. I'm still learning how to live without a war, she gave a soft laugh. And I'm still learning how to live without fear of disappointing everyone around me. They looked at each other, both smiling now. She reached out her hand slowly. Then maybe we can learn together. He took her hand gently in his. It was warm. Later that night, as he walked back to his room, he didn't feel lost anymore. The palace didn't feel strange. The lights didn't feel too bright. The halls didn't feel empty. He felt like he was part of something. Not because he was the hero of a battle, not because he was chosen by a princess, but because he had finally opened his heart. He had spoken his truth, and so had she. The wedding was no longer just a royal event. It was the beginning of something fragile, something hopeful, and something true. The day of the wedding finally arrived. The palace buzzed with excitement and quiet nerves. Nobles from many planets gathered, dressed in their finest clothes. Humans, aliens, and diplomats filled the grand halls. The air was warm with hope. The human soldier stood before a large mirror, wearing a special suit made from shining silver fabric. It was lighter than his old armor, but still held a feeling of strength. His hands trembled slightly. This was no ordinary ceremony. It was a new beginning. Kari, his kind attendant, smiled softly as she adjusted his collar. You look ready, she said quietly. He nodded, but his heart was full of questions. Would this really work? Could he live as more than a soldier? Could he be a partner to a princess from a distant world? He pushed the doubts aside. He was here. Now. He would face whatever came with courage. The great hall was filled with light from crystal chandeliers. The walls showed images of peace and unity, symbols of what this marriage could mean. At the far end, Princess Avelia waited, wearing a beautiful blue dress that shimmered like the night sky. Her eyes found his, and she smiled with a calm that surprised him. They did not need words. In that look was trust, hope, and the promise of something real. The music began, a soft melody that filled the room like a gentle wave. The soldier took a deep breath and walked forward. As he reached the princess, the crowd fell silent. The elder priest stepped forward, speaking words in the Zarian language. Ka'ari stood beside him, translating softly so the soldier could understand. Today, the priest said, we celebrate not only a union of 2 hearts, but the joining of 2 worlds, a love that crosses stars and brings peace to all. The soldier felt the weight of the moment. It was bigger than him, bigger than any battle. It was a chance to build something new. Princess Avelia reached out her hand. He took it gently. They stood together, 2 beings from different planets but connected by choice and respect. The priest continued the ceremony, asking the soldier to promise loyalty and friendship, not just to the princess, but to her people. I vow to honor and protect, the soldier said clearly, his voice strong. Not as a conqueror, but as a friend. Avelia smiled and promised to stand beside him, to respect his world and his heart. When the ceremony ended, the crowd erupted in cheers. Aliens and humans alike clapped and celebrated. It was a moment of hope in a galaxy often torn by war. Later, in a quiet garden under the stars, the soldier and princess stood together. "You changed my world," she said softly. He looked at her, feeling something he had not felt in a long time. "Peace. You gave me a chance," he replied, "not just as a soldier, but as a man." They walked hand in hand beneath the twin moons, ready to face whatever future waited. The human soldier had come to an alien wedding, not knowing he was the groom. Now he had a new life, a life that belonged to both worlds.